Okay, the big moment is here. We now can add rust into our lantern. So that is what we're going to do this session. And to make it happen, I only have to copy this mix shader, pressing Shift D, and then add some rust shader down here. So I press Shift A, go to shader, and select the principled. And then I connect that one, and the lantern goes white. So we change this to some brown just to start with, so we have some type of rust, and the roughness of rather high. We can put it almost at the top, so something like that. And now the thing we have to do is to connect the rust controller to the effector here. And now we can control everything here. So if I take an increase over the strength, you can see that we get rust. Perfect. So all we have to do now is a few tweaks that I would like to have in. One of those is that we should not be able to drag this rust filter over the maximum of 3, because then everything will go brown directly. So I would like it to slowly go brown when I decrease, but when we drag it to the maximum, I will get rid of the rust. So we fix that by pressing Tab in this rust control, and now I search up my rust filter, which I have here, and I say that minus, it doesn't matter so much, we could put that to -5 or something, but the maximum should never go over this one, so we put that to 3 here, and then I can go back again and try it. So negative, we get all the rust we have, but positive, now we have no rust because the filter is maximized, so we're taking away all the rust. So now that works. The next thing I would like to do, then we can do like this, that we can go up a bit here, so we can study closely. Then we can see we have some line here and we have some cracks here. And I would like those cracks to be there a lot sooner, because now we have like no cracks, and then just a bit later we get all these lines here. So if I can separate those so we get them even sooner, then it would be better. And I do that by just increasing that in this edge where scratches. So I select that and press Tab, and here we have scratches. So if I just add a multiply here, then I can increase that value even more. So Shift A, converter, math, and I put in a multiply, and I can put it to a little bit higher than 1, so something like this. And that would make our scratches be seen a lot earlier compared to the other lines here. So I press Tab again, and then I just try it out, go down to my rust controller, and if I now change my rust filter a bit, so then I can see my scratches almost all the way up to 3. So now they are gone, exactly as it should, and as soon as I just press 2.9, you can see the first scratch, and that is perfect. And now they are growing and growing until around, I don't know, around 2, 1.9, yes. Now we can see it starts coming here and here on the line, and that's perfect. So now we fixed that. The next thing is that this is so even and so straight here, so it doesn't look realistic. So we need to fix that as well, and that we can do with some noise inside here. So I just press Tab on the rust controller, and the only thing is to decide where to put it. And I think a good way would be to put it, let's see where we should have it. We can have it, let's see here, do we have the correct thing here? We have rust mask dirt, the rust filter, the strength. Yeah, so it is the rust filter and it's the strength that we should concentrate on. So here comes the rust filter. And I think we should play with that one, so we can add something here. So I press Shift A, convert the math, and we put in an add into this one. And then we need to have some noise. And when we come to rust, it's always Musgrave that works the best. So Shift A, texture and Musgrave. And then we take down the dimension, we take up the detail, up with the lacunarity and some scale here. And then I would like to use a multiply so we can control the amount of Musgrave texture that we should use. So I just take one of these, press Shift D to copy that and change it into a multiply and connect that height into that. And I should also use an input here. So Shift A, input texture coordinate, and I can use the object. Just so we have something. And now I just connect that multiply to the empty room here at the add apartment. So now let's see what we have. We have here, but if I now increase the lacunarity a bit here, like that, now we get different lines, and that is really good. So we can take up this scale even more and the detail a bit like that, and we can take up the lacunarity. So now we have a lot of different things here that comes from this, and if I increase it, you get a lot of noise all over the place. And if I take that to almost 0, then we are back to what we had from beginning. So we can use this as a noise strength. I take the value in here and I just change that value into noise strength. So now we have that in as well, and I can press tab and just try it out. Some noise, we get noise all over the place, and it looks fabulous. You can see here now it's a bit random placed, but still it follows the main basic pattern here, but we get it more scattered. So really good work to have it like this, so it looks more realistic. So here, no noise, boring, straight lines. Here with noise, we get it as we want to. And now we only have to do some coloring and some bumps and so on the rust, and that we can do rather quickly. So we go back here, and as I said, Musgrave is the king when it comes to rust. So all we have to do is pressing Shift A and go to texture, add a Musgrave here. We also need a bump, so Shift A, vector bump to put in that to the normal, and I think we can use this as the height and also as a distance to get some variations. And with the strength here, I think we can use the result that we get out from the rust controller here. So we can use the rust mask as a controller for the strength here. So then we just drag that down to the strength of the bumps here, so that will control everything. Good, and then we need some coloring as well, so I press Shift A, converter and color ramp, put that in, put that to the base color, and I take the height from the Musgrave as well. And now we can see directly what is black and what is white. And you can see that the white is on the sides here and the black in the middle. And that is as it should be. Let's see if we can go up a bit, because here it's easier to see when we are playing with different values, so we get everything direct or correct. So if I take down the black really much, then we have it like that, okay, and if we take up that, we have it like this. We should increase the scale here a bit, so take up that, and I take up the detail, I take down the dimension, and I take up the lacunarity, so we have more scaling of these things here, because then it's easier to see where we have all these things. So okay, now we have it scattered, and now we put in something here, and I think the best is to reverse this like that and say that this part here is when it starts to rust, and it will be almost just something like that. Some pale thing could be that it's a little bit too bright, so we can take it down, and here we will be almost black, but we will have some red in the middle as well, so we go out like that, and now you can see we get all this red. This is a little bit too much, but you see the point here. So something like that, and it starts to look good. We can add some brown as well, so something perhaps like that. Drag this up a bit, and this like, no, that would be too much. But you can play with this as much as you want to until you find something that you feel has like a rust color. So perhaps this will work here. Yeah, it looks like some kind of rust anyway. So then we have that in. I think we do this a bit darker. So more like this. So now I think it's more like rust. And I will now have some input here as well. So Shift A, input, and put that to texture coordinate and put that into object here. So we get it like that, and perhaps also a noise for the scale to play with that. So Shift A, texture, we put in a noise here. Use the object here, and we use a map range. So Shift A, converter, and a map range that we connect to the noise, because noise is just between 0 and 1, and I would like to convert this noise into some scale. So we can put it to between 20 to 60 perhaps. We put that into the scale up here. And then we can scale this up as well, so we can put that to, I don't know, 50. Some detail and some roughness on that one. Don't know if that does so much, but perhaps. What I will do now is that I will increase the strength just to test it a bit. So I have a rather high strength. Okay, I will take down the rust filter to see if it looks okay. And I think it does. Yes, we get different type of rust on different places, and it follows nicely. And if I have a rust filter that is lower, we get it more spread, which is okay. And if we have a high rust filter, we get it almost, now we get it all over in place, and that is because of the noise strength. So if you take down the noise strength to about 0, then we don't have anything here at all. Perhaps a few things, but we have a rather high strength here. So if we take down that, the lantern is completely cleared from everything. Then we can take up this noise strength a bit, and then we can see that we can create some random rust if we want to, by just adding a few values in the noise strength here. You can see if I put that to a really low number, then I also have to drag down the strength rather much if we want it to go away. So be careful with the noise strength. It does a lot. So if I put that to 0010 or something, even then it uses the thing in a rust filter, but that is when we have it at 3. So if you look here, if I have it in 2.9, then it's okay. Now I understand. What we are doing is that I said that this should be maximum 3, because it should never go over what we have in the map range. So if I press tab right now, then we get a value in from this one that is then pushed into this from min here. That means that that value is added to this value that we get from the noise, and that's why we get rust. So we should fix that, because that's not correct. It looks nice, but it's not correct. So what we will do is that we add a maximum here, or a min here. So we press Shift A, converter and the math, and put that in. And if it's a value that comes in, that is putting a minimum here. If it's a value that is below 3, then we use that value. But if it's higher than 3, then we use 3 as output here. And then it will never go over 3, even if we put in 100 here. We can put in the clamp here as well, just to, no, we don't. We use 3, since this is between 0 and 1. So now we have something that controls this. So if I now go out and I increase this node strength, we still don't have any rust. It's when we go below here and add some strength in this. Let's see if it works now. Then we get the rust here, and we can control it with the noise strength in a good way. So now we have fixed that part as well, and now it works really nice. I thought it was a bit too sensitive before, and it was because of the addition here. But with this little minimum thing that we added here, then we get everything really good here. The last thing I would like to do is add something. If we add a high amount of strength and we have a lot of rust here, then it could be that some of these parts here should almost be broken, so we should have a hole in them. So we could add that as well as a last bonus for the rust. And then I do like this, that I add another mix shader. So I press Shift D, put that in here, and in that I add a Shift A shader and something transparent. So put that transparent in here, and then we get a hole in this. And that we can control by using this factor here, but it should be either 0, which means a complete hole, or as 1 for a complete hole, or 0 where everything is solid, so nothing between. And to solve that, we can use a greater than here. So Shift A and math. See if we can find converter and the math. Put that in, put that into this, and put that to greater than. And then we can use the rust controller value, put that in here, and now you can see that a lot of stuff goes out here. But if I now increase this, so if it's greater than, and you can see if I now increase it even more and even more, things are now growing here. So I can put that to a really, really high number that in this case should be close to 3, but not over 3. So if I put it to 2.9, I think then we get some holes here, but I will see what do we have as strength. So if I take down this a bit, then it works okay here, I think. So it's always hard to see that in cycles, but if we use it like this, if I now take up the strength really much, then we get a lot of holes, and if we take it down, then we don't get any holes here. So we can put it to greater than, we put it to greater than 3. I think that will work fine, because if we have let's see, what do we have now? We have a strength of 6.7, and if we do like this, then we don't have any strength at all. And if we take it to 0. Or we have -5 as a rust filter, then everything is invisible with the strength of, so we have to go to like 3 here to make it solid. If I go up to, let's see what we can have. Now it starts to disappear here. So, and if I go here, then it's okay. So let's keep, no, we put that to 4. Then we are really sure that normally we don't get anything if we don't have a really high strength here. So see if we can do a good combination now when we have everything in place. So we can have a rust filter that is rather high, but we also have a high strength. Take down this just a bit here. So if I now go close here, see if we get some holes here. I think we get something here. We can go up and yeah, we have some holes here as well. So I think we keep that. You can see we have a hole all the way here with this strength here. And if I take that down, we get a little bit less. Yeah, I think it will work fine with this greater than. You can certainly find out some pattern between this threshold and the strength value you're using here. Now I'm just estimating here to get something that we can use, and I think that is okay. And I also think that it matters a lot depending on how much noise strength you're using. But it's a good bonus to have in here. And what I do now is just that I will do a render as usual, just to test it out and see that it looks okay in rendered. And then I will come back after that. Then the render is finished here and it looks okay. Meaning that I think I used a little bit too much of the Musgrave and had a bit too high filter here. But as you've seen, it's just parameters. You can easily change them to make everything work. But in the basic settings works very fine here. So we get the rust, and we also get some few holes. So I think we have one here, and we have one hole here, one here. So it works fine. And also the bump seems to work in a good way. So the bumps really pops up here in a really nice way. However, since I used so much noise, then we get a little bit spreading here that looks a bit unnatural, and that will of course decrease if you decrease the Musgrave noise before you do the rendering. So the only thing that is really strange here is that we have a metallic thing here that is completely new. We have not done any change on the glass and so on. So that I will also take care of, so we fix everything and can play with that as well, of course. The only thing you have to think about when we're building this now, if I just take and close this, is that we can of course change these values here. And as I said, this is rather high, so I would take that down to like 0.1 or something, just to make it better, and instead decrease the rust filter just a bit. So I think if I should do that again, I think I would have it perhaps more like this, but that doesn't matter. It's you can play with it. You have the numbers here, and you can do whatever you want with everything here to make it happen. But what I was going to say is that you can play with that, but you can also play with all the other stuff here, and whatever you do here will in the end then of course then interact or with this thing here. So if you do something here, it affects even here. So all the parameters we are using will of course do stuff all the way to the rust here. So my advice is, when you're doing this, try to put this like off, using no strength and so on, and try to start as a new lantern and then add stuff while you go. So don't use so much dirt, don't use so much smudge and so on. Just take it easy from the beginning, and then you can increase it by the time and then get your lantern to get older. So that is one suggestion that I think that you always should have in your head. So don't just rush into it and add a lot of parameters just to make it look dirty and worn and so on, because it will not be realistic in the end. It's better to take it slowly, build it up, and then create it with the rust in the end, so to say. But otherwise, then you have everything here. So you can, as I said, change it. So if you want to have a red lantern, it's up to you to do that as well. So yeah, now you know a little bit about how to add the rust, and I will then of course add rust to the metal, and I do that, or we start doing things with the metal in the next session. So see you there, bye for now.